Story 1: The reflection in room 12. When I booked my solo weekend getaway at the old Bell Ridge Inn, I was craving quiet more than comfort. As a 43-year-old nurse with 2 grown kids and an ex-husband who called only for favors, silence was the most luxurious amenity I could ask for. Room 12 was tucked at the far end of the hall, old-fashioned but clean, with a large antique mirror mounted on the wall facing the bed. I didn't think much of it until night fell. That first evening, I was brushing my hair when I noticed something off. My reflection wasn't moving in sync. It was subtle at first, like a lag in a video call. I chalked it up to exhaustion. But when I put the brush down and the reflection kept brushing, my stomach turned to ice. I turned away quickly, heart pounding. When I looked back, the reflection was normal again. Nothing out of place. I didn't sleep well that night, every creak in the inn amplified by my growing unease. I convinced myself it was stress. Just one night, I told myself, "Get some rest." The second night was worse. I tried to avoid looking in the mirror, but as I passed it, something in my periphery caught my eye. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't Dot, it wasn't a trick of light or angle. It was unmistakably me, but with a wide, cold grin that didn't reach her eyes. I stumbled back and knocked over a chair. When I looked again, the grin was gone. My knees nearly gave out. I called the front desk, trying to sound casual. "Has anyone ever mentioned anything strange about room 12? There was a pause. Then the clerk said quietly, "You should leave the mirror covered. We've had complaints." "Complaints?" That's all she said. No further explanation. I tore a blanket from the bed and threw it over the mirror. I barely slept, staring at the lump of fabric covering that silent imposter. The next morning, I packed my things. I couldn't stay another night. As I was leaving, I noticed the blanket had fallen. The mirror was exposed. And it was empty. I wasn't reflected. The room behind me was. But not me. I didn't scream. I just backed out slowly, dragging my suitcase behind me, never taking my eyes off that void where I should have been. They say trauma makes you forget. I remember every detail. I never went back to Bell Ridge. But I still avoid mirrors at night. Because sometimes, just sometimes, I think I see her watching from the other side waiting to come back. Story to the last voice. Message: I've been a 37-year-old widowed mom for 3 years now. My husband, Mark, died in a car crash, a foggy road, a speeding truck, and an instant of devastation. What still haunts me isn't his death. It's what happened a month ago. I was organizing the attic, trying to finally part with some of Mark's things. My son was at school. I found an old phone of his, the one he'd used just before the accident. Dead, of course. But I plugged it in out of curiosity. There was only one voicemail saved. One I had never heard. It was dated the day after the crash. My skin went cold. I hit play. At first, nothing but static. Then, Mark's voice, soft, raspy. "I didn't die in the crash. I don't know where I am. It's cold. They won't let me leave." I dropped the phone. His voice kept playing. I hear them whispering. "I can't move. I'm so tired. If you get this, please don't let them take our son." Click. I stood frozen. That phone had never left the storage box since the police returned it. I checked the call logs. No outgoing calls after the crash. The voicemail was untraceable, just there. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched my son as he lay in bed, wondering what Mark meant. Who wouldn't let him leave? Why mention our son? The next day, I took the phone to a tech friend. He opened it up and found the SIM card. Wasn't Mark's. It had never belonged to him. It was blank. Dummy hardware. It shouldn't have worked. Since then, I've had the same nightmare every night. Mark standing in the fog, face pale, mouth moving but no sound. And shadows behind him, moving closer. Always closer. Last night, the dream changed. Mark turned to me and mouthed one word, run. This morning, my son woke up with a nosebleed and said, Daddy talked to me last night. He said we need to leave. We're staying in a motel 3 states away now. I still have the phone. Sometimes it buzzes on its own. When I answer, it's just wind and whispering. I don't know where Mark is. But he's trying to warn us. And I'm listening. Story 3: The woman in the crawl space. When I bought my fixer-upper at 39, people called me brave. It was a 1920s craftsman with charm and problems. I loved it instantly. Alone for the first time in years, I was ready to create a home for myself. What I didn't know was that someone had already claimed it. The first week, I noticed the attic light kept turning on. I hadn't even been up there yet. I figured it was a wiring issue. Then, I found the crawl space door in the hallway slightly open. No big deal, right? Until I saw handprints. Small ones. Inside, on the crawl space walls. I convinced myself they were old. Maybe from the last owners. But they were smudged like they'd been made recently. I cleaned them. 2 days later, they were back. Fresh, I set up a cheap motion cam. Nothing for days. Then one night, I caught it at 14 a.m., a pale figure crawling out of the hatch, slow and deliberate. Long hair, head down. Movements jerky like a puppet on strings. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. I just rewound it. Over and over. The next night, I slept with a knife. I locked the crawl space. Nailed it shut. Didn't stop her. She started knocking. At exactly 14 a.m. every single night, I called a priest. He walked through the house and stopped cold in the hallway. She's not trapped. She's waiting. For you to go where she died, he pointed to the floor, under the crawl space. We pulled up the boards. Found bones. Clothing from decades ago. A girl who disappeared in the 50s. They identified her from dental records. Her name was Clara. After they took her remains away, the knocking stopped. The attic light stayed off. For a while. Until last week. Now it's 14 a.m. again. And someone's knocking. But the crawl space is sealed. It's coming from under my bed.